guys, it's Chelsea and I'm back with another video, and I wanted to ask a question. Have you ever been asked to do something and you said yes but then immediately regretted it? Let me give you a few examples. You were tired and you agreed to help, or your schedule was already busy and now you've taken on another commitment. You didn't actually want to do something but you were afraid of disappointing the person that asked. Or you knew you didn't have the capacity, but you said yes anyway. So I've been thinking a lot about how difficult it can be for us as women, and especially Christian women, to say no. Because sometimes I think we've been taught, whether directly or indirectly, that being a good, faithful, Christian, loving woman means being available at all times. But lately, God has been showing me that maybe saying yes isn't always the most faithful thing to say. Maybe sometimes he needs us to say no. So as Christians, we do feel pressured to say yes. Yes to serving, yes to helping, yes to volunteering, yes to opportunities, yes to requests, and yes to the needs of people around us. But that's what creates or continues this underlying belief that if I'm a truly loving person, then I must be available. Or the belief that if I say no, I'm selfish. Or the belief that I suffer with, if I don't help, then who will? But the thing is, with these beliefs comes consequences. When you say yes to everything, the consequences that follow are our schedules become extremely busy. We become physically tired. We become emotionally and spiritually drained. We lose margin. We become resentful. And the worst consequence of all, we don't have the energy to do the things that God is actually calling us to do. Now, sometimes we say yes because we genuinely want to help, but sometimes we say yes because we're afraid of what's going to happen if we say no. I've definitely struggled with saying yes when I really wanted to say no, and my reason for doing it 9 times out of 10 is because I don't want to disappoint whoever is asking. I mean, I've done things last minute, stayed up all night trying to help someone just because I was afraid of saying no. I think what it really boils down to is that we don't want to say yes, but we say it to avoid that discomfort that saying no brings. Because saying yes gives us immediate relief. We don't have to deal with the other person's disappointment or have an awkward conversation. It takes away that fear of being misunderstood and the possibility that this person might look at me differently. But later on, we're gonna feel exhausted, overwhelmed, frustrated, and resentful. So now the question becomes, are we saying yes because we genuinely want to help? Or are we saying yes because we're afraid to say no? Let's go to the Bible. Mark chapter 1, verses 35 and 38. Early in the morning, well before sunrise, Jesus rose and went to a deserted place where he could be alone in prayer. Simon and those with him tracked him down. When they found him, they told him, "Everyone's looking for you." He replied, "Let's head in the other direction to the nearby villages so that I can preach there. That's why I've come." So in these verses, Jesus had been healing people and ministering to crowds, and there was still so much more to do. People still needed healing. People still wanted his attention. People still wanted to see him. And there was just overall more work that could have been done. The verses say Jesus withdrew early in the morning to pray, and this is important. Before responding to all the needs around him, he spent time with the Father. Then the disciples came looking for him, and they said, "Everyone is looking for you." And can you imagine the pressure behind that sentence? People are waiting for you. People need you. You need to come back. There is more work to do. But yet Jesus doesn't respond by saying, "You're right, let's go back." Instead, he says, "Let's go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so I can preach there, because that's what I have come to do." Jesus saw the needs around him. He cared for people, he served people, he loved people. But he was not controlled by every single request. He was guided by his Father's purpose. Just because someone needs help, or there's an opportunity available, or there's a problem that needs to be solved, that doesn't necessarily mean God is asking you to do it. But do not get me wrong, this does not mean to ignore people or never help or only do the things that you want to do. But it does mean that we need wisdom. Sometimes God is asking us to serve, to sacrifice, to help others. But sometimes he is asking us to just say, I can't take this on right now. Have you ever heard that phrase, not every good opportunity is a God opportunity? Well, that's one I tend to agree with, because there are so many good things we can do, but we cannot do all of them. And this is where we have to accept something that a lot of us do not want to accept. That we are limited. We have limited time, limited energy, limited attention, and limited emotional capacity. But thankfully, we serve an unlimited God. We were never meant to be everything to everyone. Only God can do that. And when we try to take on that role, we become overwhelmed, exhausted, and resentful. I know in the past, I've become frustrated with people needing too much from me. But the real issue was I just didn't give myself permission to say no. Until I realized that every yes cost something. Every yes will cost you time, energy, attention, and emotional capacity. And when you say yes to one thing, you're inevitably saying no to something else. For example, if you say yes to one commitment, you might be saying no to rest, time with God, your health, your family, your ministry. But this doesn't mean we should be afraid to say yes. It just means we need to be more intentional with our yeses. So now the question isn't, is this a good thing, but is this my thing? So here's just a couple of things that God is teaching me that I want you to take away from this video. Number one, I don't have to solve every problem. There are some needs that God may allow you to see that he doesn't need you to personally fix. Number two, I don't have to earn God's approval by being useful. Our value doesn't come from how much we accomplish. And the toughest truth is I can disappoint others and still be obedient to God. Sometimes our fear of disappointing others outweighs our desire to obey God. And that's when a yes becomes less about love and more about fear. So here's a couple of questions to ask before you decide to say yes or no to a new commitment. Number one, do I actually have the capacity for this? Not just do I have the time for it, but do I have the emotional capacity to take it on without becoming overwhelmed or resentful? Number two, am I saying yes because I feel led by God or because I feel guilty? This is probably the most important question you can ask. Number three, is this my responsibility? This is a good question to ask because this might not even be something you need to take on. Is this already someone else's responsibility? Number four, what will this yes require me to say no to? This will help you better understand the cost of your decision. And number five, am I being driven by love or fear? Love will lead you to serve, and fear just leads you to overcommitment. All right, now I've got 3 easy ways that you can say no. Take them word for word or spruce them up, but this is your base. This is how you can say no. Thank you for thinking of me, but I am not able to take that on right now. I won't be able to commit to that, but I hope it goes well. I don't have the capacity for that right now. And that's it. You don't need a long defense. I talked about this in my last video, but every decision does not need an explanation. A no can be short, kind, honest, and faithful. Now, after you say no, you may still feel guilty, anxious, uncomfortable, or worried about what that other person might think. And that's okay. Feeling guilty doesn't always mean you did something wrong. Sometimes guilt is just the discomfort in doing something new. Think about it. If you've spent years trying to avoid disappointing people, saying no will initially feel wrong, even if it's healthy and wise. Just remember, Jesus did not allow the urgency of others to determine his priorities. You don't have to meet every need. You don't have to solve every problem. And you don't have to prove your faithfulness through exhaustion. The goal is not to do more. The goal is to be faithful with what God has placed in your hands. And sometimes the most faithful thing you can do is say no. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I pray that it blessed you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to pass it along to anyone that you think may need it. Thanks again for watching. See you all in the next one. Bye.
We need Jesus. We all need Jesus. We all need Jesus.